Hello and welcome to East China Schools Today. My name is Suzanne Cybulla. I am the Superintendent for East China School District. And today I'd like to share with you some information on our upcoming bond proposal that will be voted on May 7th. Back in May of 2016, the East China School District had a bond proposal on the ballot that was unsuccessful. The bond was monies designated to upgrade some of the infrastructure in the district, but the bond, because it was unsuccessful, the district decided at that point they needed to step back and research why the community wasn't in support of what they were putting forward with their plan. So they partnered, the district and the school board partnered with the Michigan Association of School Boards to start the strategic planning process. So that started right after the vote in May of 2016 and went for 1 year through the strategic planning process. There were 4 committees. They met about once a week to discuss where we wanted to go as a district and dealing with our declining enrollment and the fact that some of our buildings were aging and needed some infrastructure upgrades to keep moving forward. So in tackling those 2 big issues, the declining enrollment, the aging infrastructure, and where we wanted to go as a district as a whole, and not just as some small measures and smaller bonds, where would we want to go in the future? The strategic planning process then led us to a comprehensive building committee because it became evident that our buildings, we had more buildings than we had students, and we needed to address that concern. So the Comprehensive Building Committee then led us to the Bond Steering Committee. The Bond Steering Committee was formed in August of 2018, and they have been meeting to discuss where the bond development should go for the scope of the ideas that the other committees from May of 2016 had put together. So they worked tirelessly until November 14th when they presented the East China School Board with the bond proposal that I'm going to show you today. And on November 26th, the school board, the East China School Board, voted to approve that bond proposal. And then I, as the superintendent of the district, along with some of the district leaders, went to Lansing, to the Treasury Department, to ask for permission to put this bond proposal on the May 7th vote. There are a lot of checks and balances to put a bond ballot on the ballot, a bond vote on the ballot. They ask for you to have an enrollment study, which we had Middle Cities was an independent enrollment study done on our district. They ask that you stay within certain guidelines for dollars spent. They ask that you bring forth a plan that has an 80% utilization rate, so that you're not overbuilding or underbuilding for the structures, building structures for the enrollment that is being projected. So we went to Treasury, we went through all of the documents, all of the checks and balances that Treasury requires when you're asking for tax dollars, and we received their approval to move forward with the bond proposal on May 7th. One of the things that we like to continually emphasize is that this entire process has been community-driven and community input. So from the strategic planning committees that started in 2016 to the Bond Steering Committee, which you're seeing some of the members of the Bond Steering Committee on the screen right now, the input of all of our community members has been critical to making sure that this is the best decision, the best plan for our district moving forward. And on our website, we have our strategic planning committees, the notes from those meetings. And so if anyone is interested in looking at those are still there so that you can see all of the discussions that that have occurred since 2016 to lead us to this community-driven decision. During this decision process, we had some guiding principles, the things that were most important in our district moving forward. So as the community members were meeting and discussing what they wanted their district to look like in the future, the things that were most important to us are listed here as our priorities. That was meeting today's technology needs. And then technology means many things, and it could mean that the teaching technology, and does mean the teaching technology that the students would be using, and the technology that's found in the ceilings and the walls of the building that drive the ability to use the technology. So all of those things were important as we give our students and teachers the competitive edge in the 21st century. Creating secure entries at all of our schools was important in the discussions with our communities. When you walk into a school building, a new school building now, you aren't able to just walk right into the school. You have to go through a vestibule or a check-in area before you're able to enter the school itself. And those are the types of things that our community wanted for our schools. So in the bond process, we talked, the bond design process, we talked a lot about how we could create those secure entrances for all of our schools. We need to and have to structure our district for our future enrollment. I think it's surprising for people to learn exactly how many students we have lost over the years to people moving out of the area, to families having smaller families, not as many children, and to our aging population in our area. We have lots of people who have school-age children who have moved on, but they stay here. So we need to look at that declining enrollment, which is not unique to our area. It's statewide, and other districts are dealing with this as well. But we want to make sure that our building structure fit our new enrollment and not where we were in the past. We also, one of our guiding principles was to provide STEAM and STEM. Those are opportunities for our students at the middle school and high school in particular to have collaborative environments to learn high-level engineering or biomedical type of classes. Right now we run a Project Lead the Way program at both Marine City High School and St. Clair High School, which is an engineering program. And some of our technology won't and can't support the software, the CAD software that they need to run those programs. And then we wanted to transform our classrooms into a 21st century learning. That says studios, it means classrooms. Transform them into collaborative type of classrooms where we know students learn best. Research shows us that students that are able to engage in their learning and not be passively learning the information do better. So these were our guiding principles, and the next one is the focus on the early childhood needs. Right now in East China, our early childhood programs are spread across different schools, and we would like to get them all in one area so we have all of our expertise and all of our resources in one location. One of the most surprising things for folks, I believe, is the enrollment trend that East China is seeing, the declining enrollment. And as you see here on this graph, in 2001, East China School District had 5,700 students, 5,700 students. This year, for Count Day, we had just over 4,000 students. So since 2001, East China School District has had an enrollment decline of 1,700 students. And if you'll see the last four plots on this graph, those are the projected enrollments from the Middle Cities enrollment, the outside enrollment study that we had to have as a district in order to get Treasury to approve this. So they're showing us leveling off as a district of about 3,700, 3,500 was one of the projections, instead of the 5,700. So I think when people see this in its entirety, it's surprising because each year we lose a few students, but you see it over the span of since 2001, it really shows the impact of the declining enrollment that the district has had. So we use the term right-sizing the district, and that means that we want the district to be the right size for the number of students we have now, not the number of students that we had in 2001. So we need the right number of buildings, and we need the right type of buildings for today's teaching trends in order to do the very best that we can for our students. So we use the term right-sizing. And the benchmarking data indicates that in a district of the size that we will end up being, about 3,700 students, there's 5 to 6 school buildings is most common in Michigan School District. And the reason for us to get us right-sized, our ultimate goal, is to be at an operational level as a district that is sustainable for the future. Right now, our school district, East China School District's existing structure is on the left. And you can see the number of buildings that we're currently operating. And with those number of school buildings, our current utilization rate is 64%. That's for this school year. And what we're trying to achieve with this bond proposal is getting us to a more standard, acceptable utilization rate of 80%. So the graph on the right, or the picture on the right there, shows the proposed future structure of the district that would have one middle school, one high school at the Meisner location, our Performing Arts Center, our stadium, Riverview East would be at the Meisner location, the 4 elementary buildings, and then an early childhood center that would be built off of Pine River Elementary. During this process, I talked about how it's been a community-driven process, and in October of this year, we ran 2 community engagement sessions, and we invited anyone from the community that was interested in learning more about the bond that was being proposed to please come to these sessions so that we could share the information. During those, or at the end of each of those sessions, we did a little poll to see, after everyone had seen the presentation, what they felt the financial tolerance of the community would be for a project of that scope. And on the left-hand side it is the community engagement session 1, and we had about 87% of the people who voted. It was just a little note card that we asked people to fill out on their way out. And 87% of the folks that did that felt like the financial tolerance would be about $130 million. And in community engagement session 2, the financial tolerance was between 130 and 160 for the scope of the project of the bond that we presented. With this program scope, with looking at the entire district and how we could become sustainable moving forward, we had to do some prioritizing for what we wanted to have in our district moving forward. So there's some pictures here of the bond steering committee working in 6 different groups with Legos, and they were given the task of, if you had to determine what was most important for East China School District moving forward, staying within those financial tolerance guidelines, what would they be? And it was a good exercise, an affirming exercise for the committee to do, because at the end, where you see the picture on the right with the builds, they were all thinking the same thing. Their priorities were in alignment, and that gave us a good feeling moving forward with this bond proposal that they eventually brought to the school board. The key features of the bond that was brought to the school board are these. The technology updates would be done district-wide. This is every building in East China School District would receive those infrastructure technology upgrades, as well as teaching and instructional upgrades. There would be a new state-of-the-art high school and middle school built on the Meisner location. The school district already owns the land, so it does not need to be purchased. St. Clair Middle School becomes an elementary building. Palms, Pine River, and Belle River receive upgrades and remain as elementary buildings. A dedicated early childhood center would be built as an addition at Pine River Elementary, and all of the buildings not purchased or acquired would be demolished, and those funds are built into the bond for the demolition. The sketches that you see here are for Pine River Elementary and the Early Childhood Center addition. Now, these are sketches for cost estimating and to make sure we have the right square footage and the land for the addition that is necessary. It is not most likely what it will end up looking as far as where walls will be located, because the design of the facilities will come after the bond passes, because it's an expensive and time-consuming process to do the design, and you wouldn't take on that task until you were secured with the bond passing. So these are their sketches, their cost estimating, and making sure we have the right square footage. But what you see on the right, the bulleted points on the right, those are all included in the bond proposal. So Pine River would receive the secure and safe entrances that we talked about earlier that were a priority in our communities, a welcome center addition. They would receive restrooms that are needed in some of the classrooms, new fire protection, HVAC and electrical upgrades throughout the building. They'd receive all of the technology upgrades, flexible and collaborative furniture that's important for the 21st century learning that we know research supports. Improved location for coat and boot storage, construct the early childhood center that's indicated in red here on the sketch, and then the playground equipment that would go with the new early childhood center. Here are a couple drawings of an early childhood center addition, and I think they're important to see because we have learned over the last couple of decades how important the spaces are to the learning, especially for our earliest learners. And what you see here depicted in these pictures is the open spaces, the natural light, the ability for students who are in the earliest stages of learning to have that gross motor movement in their learning environments. And it's extremely important for these students as they begin their schooling. These are also some photos of the early childhood center. This one actually is the one that was built in Port Huron. Port Huron passed their bond in August of 2016, and they've just completed construction on their early childhood center. So you can see here that they have the open spaces, the bright colors, the natural light, and their playground incorporates all different types of movement for those early students. Our current St. Clair Middle School under this bond proposal would become the new elementary, the new St. Clair Elementary. St. Clair Middle School is the baby of our school district as far as buildings go. It is 20 years old, and it would become our new elementary building. And to do that, all the bulleted items on the right are part of the bond proposal. They'd receive a new canopy to identify the entrance, the safe and secure entrances that we continually talk about. All of the HVAC, electrical upgrades, technology, improved areas for kindergarten students. The spaces need to be bigger for those students. Flexible collaborative furniture, transform the site from a middle school to an elementary, addressing vehicle, bus, and parent drop-off. We need to relook at that. New age-appropriate playground equipment and repaving of all parking lots. So all of the bulleted items that you see on each of these slides are included in the bond proposal. So for Belle River Elementary, they receive all of the same things that the other elementaries are receiving. And important to the Belle River project is the repaving of the parking lots and the concrete sidewalk replacement. They need some work in that area, but they also receive the safe and secure entrance, the technology upgrades, and all of the other improvements that the other elementary buildings are receiving. Palms Elementary, again, receiving that safe and secure entrance, the HVAC, the new fire protection, the technology upgrades, the furniture, the repaving, the concrete work done. But what's exciting for the folks at Palms Elementary is their HVAC upgrade, they will receive air conditioning in their elementary building. Here are some photos of classrooms of the 21st century in new childhood elementary spaces. And I think this is important to see, if you haven't been in an elementary building in a while, how far research has taken us to learning how those earliest learners are hooked into the learning process. You can see here they have movable furniture, the tables move so they can work one-on-one, or they can work in group settings or work peer-to-peer. The key here is allowing for different types of learning and for the students to be engaged in a part of the learning process. As in the past, we had more of a passive type of learning environments in schools, but anymore the students are engaged in the learning process, and this furniture allows them to be part of that engagement. So the new high school and middle school in Riverview East complex and facility gets a lot of attention when we're talking about this bond proposal for East China School District on May 7th. But I like to remind people that although this is an important and a big project proposed at the Meisner site, that this bond proposal affects all of the students in East China School District, from pre-K in that early childhood center all the way through our graduating seniors. So even though the new build, the new construction of a high school and a middle school in Riverview East at the Meisner location is a big project and one that deserves a lot of our attention. But I always like to remind folks, please keep in mind the scope of this bond is for all of our students in East China School District. So talking about the new high school and middle school in Riverview East, you'll see they receive a lot of bullet points that are included in the bond proposal. Safe and secure entrance. There's actually a centralized welcome center that I'll show on a slide in just a moment. There would be a 2-story middle school classroom wing, a 2-story high school classroom wing, and then a 1-story Riverview East school wing with its own dedicated entrance. There would be a dining hall and commons in this facility, and that runs down the back side of the school. So you can see the 2 wings. One would be the middle school, one would be the high school, and then the commons coming down, that it's called the spine of the school, would be an open commons. And then to the right of that open commons would be all of our athletic facilities and the kitchen that would supply food service for the district, which is located currently at the Marine City campus. You'll see on this sketch we have our current stadium, our track and our football and our lacrosse and soccer field. We have our Performing Arts Center, and then the proposed fields are also outlined on this sketch. And at the front of the building, in front, it's kind of an orange-yellow color. The front right there is where all the offices would be located. So the middle school offices, the high school office, and central office. So all of the offices would be located in one spot on their Meisner location, offering us a lot of efficiency in our office operations. This is a sketch of what the facility may look like. It's an artist rendering, and you can see on the front of the building there where all the offices would be, right there. And then we have the 2-story wings. One would be the middle school, one would be the high school. And each one of those wings, including the offices, have a lot of natural light. All of them have those nice big windows proposed. And then along the back of the school is that spine, that open commons area. And behind that then is the athletic facilities and the kitchen facilities for the district. Now what's nice about this sketch or design is the fact that the academic wings could be closed off after hours, and then, but we'd still have access to all of the athletic facilities to the right or to the east of the building. Now this building, the sketch has the front of the building facing King Road. And so part of the bond proposal that we were required to do, one of the many checks and balances before you're allowed to put a bond on a ballot, a proposal on a ballot, is that we had to include traffic studies. So there'll be a traffic study done on King Road, and there'll be a traffic flow study done on Meisner Road to see if we possibly need a light or turn lanes to accommodate the flow of traffic for the new facility. This is an artist rendering of what the front of the building may look like. Again, those are all the offices, the middle school office, the high school office, and central office, all in one location. And once the school day starts, this would be the only way in and out of the building, because the building would be equipped with locked doors that are accessible with a key pad only or a key card only that is coded for people who have access. So once the school day starts, this is the only way in and out of the building, allowing us to have that feature that was so important in our community discussions about safe and secure environments for our schools. These are examples. I talked about how it's so important for our early learners to have collaborative spaces. It continues to be important in the middle school and high school for our learners, our students, to have places where they can collaborate together. You can see in these pictures, and the bottom left picture is Mr. Eberhardt's room at St. Clair High School. He received a grant 2 years ago to redo his classroom into a 21st century classroom environment where students can work in a collaborative way, meaning that they can move their desks together, they can work one-on-one, they can do their experiments, they can work where the teacher is in front of the classroom for whole group instruction. It just allows for a lot of flexibility in the classroom. And you'll see that in the other three pictures as well. The classrooms are set up very differently than we're used to seeing. Here are the bond estimates for each of those projects that we just went through, from Belle River all the way down to the new high school, middle school, and Riverview East, the demolition of the remaining buildings, and then the costs and the interest earned from the bond sales gets us to the $148,680,000 that is on the bond proposal. The debt millage, this is an important chart to understand when looking at the ballot language. This is a 1.7 mil increase over our current rate of 2.84. But it is a 2.7 mil bond, and the reason that the wording of 1.7 mil increase is used, because you can see in the red there, we have debt millage that is coming off. So the increase with the new bond is the 1.7, and then the average over the life of the bond is 3.86 mils. So when you see the ballot language, that's exactly what you're going to see on there. And what I'd like to show on the next slide is how we compare to our surrounding districts, the districts in our area. And you can see that East China School District is the lowest in millage in comparison to our surrounding districts. And with this bond proposal, it would put us in the middle there between KPAC and Richmond. Now, earlier I said that 3.86 is the average of this bond over the life of the bond time, and that would put us then right before Algonac. So when you're seeing those numbers and hearing those numbers, I like to use this millage comparison chart so we can see exactly where we're at compared to our surrounding districts. And what I think this really does show is what a great job East China School District has done over the years as stewards of their community's money, that they have made sure that what they're asking for is exactly what is needed, and they're not over asking for that bond indebtedness. Here is a taxpayer impact chart, so you can see exactly what the impact to your home budget would be with this bond proposal. But there is also on the East China School District website, if you go to our home website, you can click on a little tab. It says Bond 2019. It will take you to this presentation that you're seeing right now, this PowerPoint presentation. You'll also see a frequently asked questions document that has a bunch of information and questions that people have asked over the course of the development of this bond. But it also has a tax calculator. So you can enter in where your home is and your address, because there's differentials between townships and cities, and you'll get the impact to your home in your home budget for this bond proposal. So either using this chart or the tax estimator on the website will give you an idea of that impact. So why is this a good time to be doing this? There's a lot of good economic reasons as to why now. These critical upgrades may get more expensive over time if not corrected now with the things that we need to do in the buildings as well as the technology. Current lower interest rates could provide the district with the ability to pay a smaller interest amount over time. And as all of us know, the value of a community rests with the quality and marketability of its schools. We want to be competitive to our surrounding districts and offer the very best quality opportunities for our students. A bond program can provide opportunities for local contractors and businesses. Because we are a public entity, a school district, all of our projects have to be bid out, and that provides those opportunities for local contractors. And this is what we talked about earlier with the charts that I was showing. But because the district's current debt levy of 2.84 mils is projected to progressively diminish by 2024, it thus gives the district opportunity to fund projects like this one with less impact to our millage rate. The timing is good for this bond proposal. What if it doesn't pass? Well, all of the needs that we talked about, the technology upgrades, the building needs, the fact that our declining enrollment is still there, are not going to go away. So we are going to need to address them with the consolidation of a bond proposal or with the consolidation of our current buildings using what we have. So the bond, the vote on May 7th for this proposal is not on consolidation. It's on how we plan to consolidate. If we want to have the new buildings at the Meisner location, the new middle school, high school, Riverview East with the new facilities, or do we want to use our current facilities? So I think it's important to realize that we need to right-size the district either way. But this bond proposal that was presented to the school board, that was developed by our community, is the one that our community felt was the best option and the best opportunity for our communities and for our students. So this is just outlining a little bit of what would happen with the bond passage, the May 7th bond passage, and what would Plan B be? How would we consolidate with our existing structures? So we put some numbers to that. The operational savings, if the bond passes, of our operational expenditures is 22%. The personnel savings is approximately the same with both plans because our staffing is determined by the number of students that we have, and it's also determined by our contract with our teachers. So the class sizes wouldn't change either with the consolidation either way. And with the passage of a bond, we would have realized savings, that 22% operational realized savings that could be used for proactive initiatives. If we wanted to hire social workers or hire teachers or look at different classroom materials, possibly have the Project Lead the Way STEM program at our middle schools, those are the type of proactive initiatives that we would like to be looking at with a savings as opposed to what we have been doing since 2001, and that is deciding what cuts we can make in order to stabilize the budget each year. So with Plan B, using our existing facilities for the consolidation, the district would consolidate, use our existing buildings, and we'd realize an operational savings of about 13%. But with that, keep in mind that the technology would still need to be updated. The Early Childhood Center would not be built. We would have to keep them in the different buildings the way we have it structured now. Our facilities would still need updates and maintenance measures. And those realized savings, that 13% realized savings in our operational budget, would need to be used for those maintenance and technology updates that the district needs, and not so much for so the proactive type of programming or measures that we would like to do. But it's important that we would have those realized savings. Now the dates, like I mentioned at the beginning, is May 7th is the vote, 2019. The last day to register for the vote, other than in person, is April 22nd. And then April 23rd through May 7th is in-person registration with your local clerk. And the ability to vote now is also available. If you fill out your application, you can take it to your clerk and get your ballot and vote now. So with all of that being said, I know it's a lot of information and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to it, but if you have additional questions, please contact me at any time. There are details that I think are important for everyone to know that we shared here today, but if you have additional questions or need additional information, please contact my office and I will be sure to answer those questions for you. So thank you for listening today, and thank you for joining East China Schools today.